My name is Ann Kagris, and I'm coming to you from Northeast Ohio, and there's quite a bit of a distance between where you are and where I am. But today I'm going to be reaching you virtually and talking to you a little bit about uh, differences, but in the invisible kind. Come here. No, come here. Put your ear closer to me. I want you to hear this. I have a secret for you, but shh. It's a secret. Don't, don't, don't tell anybody. It's a secret and it's a big one. Shh. Can you hear me? Listen. Normal, normal doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Nobody is normal. Don't tell the normal people, the people that think they're normal, don't tell them that normal doesn't exist because guess what? Normal doesn't exist. Shh. That was a pretty big secret, huh? It really was a big secret. And I think some minds were probably blown because of that. But guess what? We all got something. I hate to tell you that, but we really do. We all got something, and we all want to fit in with someone. We all want to be successful. And I think it's pretty fair to say that we all want to have a friend. And middle school is some of the most awkward times that you will ever have in your life. And it gets better. It really does get better. It was so awkward for me. And I think when you look back on these years that you will feel the same thing. And then on top of just normal things that are going on in middle school, you take things like invisible differences. Now, I personally have a few of them. I have, excuse me, I have autism, I have learning disabilities, and I have some eye problems that cause my eyes to see differently than other people, normal people. So, but if you look at me and you see me every day in a store or just walking around, you would think, she's normal. She doesn't look like there's anything wrong with her. And I hate that word wrong anyway, because there really isn't anything wrong with me. I just learn differently and socialize differently, maneuver my world differently. But we all really do living our life in the way that we do it. It doesn't make us less than or wrong or different in any other sense except for the fact that we just all do it differently. What is your definition of normal? I mean, if you, I bet, I bet that if you think of somebody in your world, you think of the word normal, I bet you might even have a picture in your mind of what normal looks like. And I did some research on what normal is, and actually, normal comes from, it originated from a mathematical equation instead of really it referring to a judgment for people. It was never meant for that. It was for mathematical terms, and it was set that way to show as if anything varied from the norm in a mathematical term. If anything varied from that, that meant that it was abnormal. Um, but it really was never meant for it to be associated with whoever thought that the, whoever was the picture of normal, that anything that varied from that became abnormal. Do you know that some of the most successful people in the world have invisible differences? And some of them are, and you might know some of them, or have heard of some of them: Bill Gates, the head of Microsoft; Steve Jobs, which is the former head of Apple; Thomas Jefferson; Sir Isaac Newton, the mathematician; the creator of Pokemon; and Michelangelo, the painter. No, not the Ninja Turtle. When I was your age, I was that kid that prayed that no one would call on me. I would look away, I would put my head down, I would do anything so the teacher would not look my way. I would try to look as distracted as possible because I really never knew the answers. I was that kid that could not read well and did not understand what I read. My comprehension, still, I have a difficult time. I was that kid that did not understand even what a teacher said when when I was supposed to be taking notes. My processing was slower, so I could not hear or understand or be able to write fast enough to keep up. I can still remember when my teacher, I was leaving class, I was 15 years old, so I was in English class, and I was leaving, and she said, "Anne, wait a second. I want to ask you a question." And she said, "Why are you the only one not taking notes?" I just said, "I don't know." I didn't know. I didn't have that answer. I mean, now, because I'm older and more mature and I understand who I am better, but back then I really didn't know the answer. But I did know that I was that kid that I worked so hard to get a C. I would spend hours and hours doing everything I could to understand the material for my homework when I got home. I would, back then, it was called a tape recorder, and I would read into a tape recorder, and then I would listen to it back, and then I would take notes on what I heard. I kept stopping and rewinding, and then write it down in short, choppy sentences, because that was the way I learned. When it came to socializing, I was that kid that stood against a wall or sat by myself, and I just hoped that somebody would come and talk to me. But initializing conversation was very hard for me. So I would just hope that somebody would be my friend. After my dad died, I was 11 years old when my dad passed away, and that made my voice disappear even more. And I would have loved for somebody to just be that friend. The world felt at that time, and it still can at times, but the world felt like I was in the middle of a tornado, and it was spinning. I was in the middle of it, and it's just spinning out of control, and I was in the middle of it trying to make sense, just standing still, just trying to make sense of everything that was going on around me, and it was pretty impossible. Some of the skills that I did learn very young was because at that point I had not learned how to self-advocate yet. But one of the things that I did learn was how to fake that I understood, and also how to look around. It might have appeared as if I was cheating, but what I was doing was I was trying to look around to everybody around me after the instructions were given, because I was trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. The point is that I cared tremendously, but it appeared as if I didn't really care that much. And to this day, my brain can shut down if I'm in uncomfortable surroundings. I can lose abilities. So say some people think that you have to look at them, that that's being respectful. But if I look at them, then I lose my ability to hear you. Sometimes a tapping of a pencil in the classroom can cause me not to be able to pay attention, because even fluorescent lighting can be too loud for me. And I know that that doesn't make sense, but when everything is enhanced and you take in all of the information that's going on around you, you can't sort. And so it's just way too much for you to be able to understand what the teacher is saying. One of the tools that I have relied on the most in my life, I call external brains. That's anybody outside of myself that can translate the world, help me to understand what's going on in a room, to go into environments and be able to tell me how to act, what to expect, and things like that. To this day, whenever I go into a new situation, I want to go early. This helps me so much. I go early, I look around, I get a feel for the place, I learn where I'm going to be sitting, who I'm going to be sitting by, what my expectations are. And that helps me set myself up for success. I mean, isn't that really what we're trying to do anyway here, is to set people up for success? Anything that is stretched outside of my abilities doesn't set me up for success. I'm not going to learn there. Learning needs to be personalized, and we do not all learn the same. Like I said earlier, that nobody is normal. Well, nobody learns the same either. And why was I not taking notes? Why wasn't I? Because all I heard was blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't figure out what she was saying. One of the most important things to me was for me to be reached where I was. And that's really difficult when you're in a room full of people. I know that one of the things that stood out to me when I taught kids with differences, and what made a difference with myself, is that maybe one kid might be given a test with multiple choice, maybe one is given a test with an essay, maybe one is given orally, where they can tell me what they know. And that really does help me know what the child knows versus just how they know how to take a test. And isn't that the goal anyway, for us to really learn what the child knows? Part of it comes down to being able to self-advocate. And as a student, a young student, maybe you could get to the point where you can go to your teacher and self-advocate and tell them, this is how I learn better. This is how I understand. I'm really trying. I'm having a difficult time. This is where I'm struggling. And once you start that conversation with your teacher, and maybe you can't even put it in words exactly what's wrong or how you understand, or you might not even know, but maybe you could start that conversation and the teacher can take it from there and help you figure out how you learn best. Another thing is that there are kids that are listening to this that need a friend, because it might not just be your teacher that can help you, but a peer, somebody in your class that can help you navigate the world, to help you be successful. And there are kids that are listening to this that can be that friend, that can help somebody navigate the world to be more successful. I would love if every school could do this, but I would absolutely love if there would be a pairing of people, somebody with differences paired with somebody with abilities that they don't have, because honestly, they both have strengths and they both have weaknesses. And so then when you put them together, they're able to help each other. And it's good for people with differences, what are considered differences, to be paired up with their peers, because after all, they might be your boss someday and you just don't know. They might be rebuilding your car, they might be building your house. So just because people are different doesn't mean that they don't have skills. And it's finding those skills and honing in on them to build those strengths to help them become the best self they can be. I also would encourage teachers to find a student or those students that are falling through the cracks. And it might be that C or D student that just looks like they're getting by, maybe struggling a little, but with that little bit of help, they might be able to get that A. They might be that quiet kid or that kid that appears to be defiant, because I know that I look like that kid that was defiant, and I really wasn't. I just didn't know how to ask. It might be that kid that isn't taking notes, that is missing school. So please don't assume and don't lump everyone under a judgment. And for the one that's listening that feels or knows that they have a learning difference or any kind of a disability or difference, that they feel that they are less than. For one thing, you are not less than. And I am proud of every single thing that I have ever accomplished. And I did not let the definitions that people gave me define me. I didn't allow these differences to define me. When I was a little kid, they said I wouldn't graduate high school, and I got a master's degree by reading into the tape recorder, by listening to it, by writing down these small choppy answers that I understood them by, instead of a lot of words. Because when people talk in a lot of words, we don't understand a lot of times. So make sure that you try to condense it down to the point where you understand. And I did not allow anybody to define me. So don't do that, because when somebody told me that I couldn't get a high school diploma, I said, oh yeah, you watch. And I got a master's degree. And they said I wouldn't be able to hit a ball, but I got a home run. They said I wouldn't be able to drive, and I have driven fine. So they said that I probably, because I have autism, that I wouldn't be empathetic, and I wouldn't be able to socialize, and I wouldn't be able to have relationships. Well, I'm a great mom of 2, and I am a grandma of 7, and I'm raising 3 of my grandkids, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job. So my life might not have been the norm, but I wouldn't change a thing. I'm not less than just because I learn differently than somebody else. I might have been different, but like I said at the very beginning, aren't we all? There really isn't a normal. So be proud of who you are. Just keep being you. Keep just being, and keep moving forward. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.